Energy Exchange Istanbul is opening a new era. The power futures market is coming online to contribute to the development of the sector as well as the market by meeting the needs of market participants. Market participants carry out spot power market transactions in day-ahead and intraday markets operated by Exist in Turkey. In this way, they balance their portfolios and provide physical optimization. Power forward trading has been carried out in the over-the-counter market with bilateral agreements. In addition to that, market participants can trade futures with cash settled with base load power futures contracts in the Borsa Istanbul futures and options market, although they do not include physical delivery. Market participants will trade in an organized market with power futures market. Spot power markets and power futures market complement each other to meet the different needs of the market. What will happen when Exist Power Futures Market is brought to the market participants? Market participants will have the opportunity to hedge the price risk with respect to their price expectations against future price changes. Exist will provide central counterparty service and guarantee the physical delivery and payments related to the trade for the transactions. Thus, market participants will be protected from counterparty risk. The daily benchmark price for each open contract in power futures market published at the end of each session will create a price signal to market participants and investors. The daily benchmark price signal will contribute to investments and long-term supply security. What is the difference of Exist Power Futures market contracts from bilateral contracts trading on the over-the-counter market? Bilateral contracts. They are contracts made between the parties. They are traded in the over-the-counter market. There is counterparty risk. The seller may not deliver the power determined by the bilateral contract, or the buyer may not pay the price determined by the bilateral contracts. It is difficult to transfer the bilateral contracts to a third party before its due date. It is not subject to regulation. There is a stamp duty. The power futures market contracts are standard contracts. They are traded in the organized market. There is no counterparty risk. Exist provides central counterparty service to the parties. It is the seller against the buyer and the buyer against the seller. Physical delivery and payments are guaranteed. The power futures market contracts can change hands continuously until the delivery period. Subject to regulation. It is exempt from stamp duty. What is the difference of Exist Power Future market contracts from base load power futures contracts traded in Borsa Istanbul? In futures and options market of Borsa Istanbul, power market participants and financial investors can trade. The type of settlement is cash settlement. There is no physical delivery of power. There is a daily settlement. A letter of guarantee is not accepted. In the power futures markets, only power market participants licensed by EMRA will be able to trade. The settlement type is physical delivery. There will be monthly settlement. The settlement will take place in the month that is following each delivery month. Market participants will be able to submit a letter of guarantee as collateral. How will the participation and transaction processes be carried out in the power futures market of Exist? As in every commodity market, power producers and consumers want to protect themselves against price risk in the power market. The producer wants to protect himself against possible drops in power prices and to have a regular cash flow. The consumer, on the other hand, wants to protect himself against possible increases in power prices and be able to calculate energy costs more accurately. First of all, there are requirements in order to participate in the power futures market that will meet all these needs. Having power generation or supply license, having a legal entity registration, signing the market participation agreement, signing of day-ahead market and intraday market participation agreements, signing the power futures market participation agreement, making Takas Bank registration. Payment of entry collateral and default guarantee fund contribution are required. What are the rules of power futures market? When and how will the market participants operate? Market participants can trade between 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. every working day. They can trade power in different load types, such as base and peak, for quarterly, monthly, and remainder delivery periods. Annual, weekly, and daily contracts can also be traded in line with the needs of the market. Base load between 0 hours to 24 hours of every day, subject to physical delivery within the delivery period. Peak load, it refers to the power supply or withdrawal of the market participants between the hours of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. equally every hour. Market participants will submit bid and offers to the market in prices and quantities determined according to their own commercial decisions. In order for these offers to be valid, the collateral requested by Exist must be sufficient and must be within the transaction limits allowed to the participant. These transaction limits are called position limits. When the buying and selling offers match, there is a production-consumption obligation, and this matching offer is called an open position. If the participants with a buy or sell position make a transaction in the opposite direction to their position, then the position is netted and the contract margin discount is made because the net position of the market participant decreases. Financial period and physical period distribution in power futures market. For example, the buyer made a transaction for the third quarter contract on June 1, 2021, covering the months of July, August, and September 2021. In this case, the position until June 28, 2021, that is 3 business days before the start of the delivery period, is in the financial period. The physical delivery period has not yet begun, and during this period, market participants can continue to trade continuously for the relevant contracts. The open positions of the buyer in the quarter contract will be transferred to the contracts of July, August, and September on the 28th of June 2021, which is the last trading day of the contract. The contract for the month of July is closed. Physical delivery for this month starts at 0 hours on July 1st and ends at 23:59 hours on July 31st. During July, August, and September, contracts are in the financial period and continue to be traded on the market. The delivery period of the July contract is completed by the end of July. The settlement of the positions and the invoice transactions are executed for the relevant contract in August. With the completion of the transactions, the relevant collaterals of the market participants are released. Power futures market collateral structure. In the financial period, against the price change risk of the power futures market contract, entry collateral, contract collateral, market update collateral, and net loss collateral are received from market participants holding long or short positions. In the physical period, against the risk of collecting invoices from the buyer and the risk of failing to deliver the physical delivery from the seller, physical delivery collateral and net loss collateral are received from the buyer and seller. End of transaction day in power futures market. The daily indicator price is calculated and published at 16:45 at the end of the session over the matching quantities realized by the transactions of market participants between 1300 hours and 1600 hours within the session for each open contract. By using the calculated daily indicator prices, the total amount of collateral that the market participants must submit is updated at 1700 hours. In case the current collateral is insufficient, a margin call is made to the relevant market participants. Market participants are required to complete the specified collateral until 1200 hours on the following business day. We would like to express our gratitude to the representatives of the Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources, the Energy Market Regulatory Authority, the Capital Markets Board, Borsa Istanbul, Takas Bank, and the private sector for contributing to the realization of the power futures market, a new milestone in Turkish energy market.